Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're going to be doing monthly favorites today. I'm going to be sharing with you guys the things that I love the very most during the month of June. Believe it or not, I have a smaller little stash of makeup items here today. However, we're going to do kind of a bonus, maybe video within a video. I'm going to be ranking the eyeshadow palettes that I tried out this month because even though the other makeup products I have are small and minimal, I did try out a lot of eyeshadow palettes this last month. Probably more like the last month and a half that I've been using the last month, 6 in total. So we're going to rank them today from least to most favorite, and then of course I'll share with you guys the other things I've been enjoying as well. Hopefully you guys are excited about it. I love monthly favorites videos. They are my favorite to film, my favorite to watch. But before we jump into my little stack here, special welcome to those of you that are new to my channel. Very happy to have you here. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you do, please consider subscribing before you leave. Also, do me a favor, make sure that notification bell is turned on. That way you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And with all of that out of the way, let's get into the makeup. Okay, so let's just start with the makeup products themselves. So there are 5 to be exact. Couple new, couple old. Starting with this one right here, which is quite old. It is the RCMA No Color Powder. Did you guys ever think I would mention a powder in a monthly favorites video? Well, here I am. I'm generally speaking not a huge powder person. I mean, it's not to say that I don't like or even use powder, but I use it very selectively and I just don't like trying out different powders. I have a few that work really well for me. This is one of them. I've been reaching for this one again lately, and I think the biggest reason is because my Rimmel Stay Matte powder, which used to be in my top drawer of my previous desk, which was right here in front of me, now is like 2 arm lengths away. It's a little bit further away where I'm storing it now. So I've had this on my desk for the last like month and a half and I've been using it a lot and I love this stuff. It is so good. Now, when I use powder, I don't generally use it everywhere. I just use it here on my forehead to keep my foundation from settling severely into my forehead lines. Sometimes I'll use it like along the sides of my nose and like the sides of my mouth where I have some kind of, you know, the smile lines going on. And I'll also use it to set my eyelids down if I'm using, whether I'm using a concealer or an eyeshadow primer. This does a great job of that. I think this is even more lightweight than the Rimmel powder is, and that one is pretty darn lightweight itself. Great little powder if you can get past the packaging, and definitely not stored in your Lazy Susan because you'll think it's cream of tartar. When I use it, I just give it a little shake. I kind of like tap the top of it, and then I actually open the whole lid and put my brush inside the actual lid itself. It's really good. If you are someone that maybe wants powder to like barely set down your makeup but to do nothing else, not give you any additional coverage, not give you any dryness, this is a great powder for that. And it's been around forever, super affordable. I think this whole bottle or jar, which is 3 ounces of product, is only I think around like $14. Let's go with another old favorite, and it is the Wet n Wild highlighter in Precious Petals. This has been, I think I first heard this raved about on YouTube back towards the beginning phases of YouTube. So I'm talking like 6-7 years ago. I remember people starting to rave about this, and I still think this is one of the best highlighters at the drugstore. It is more suited for those that have more like light, maybe medium, possibly dark. You could probably use this if you have a dark skin tone. It's just gonna be a lot more intense on you. I can't use this when I'm at my very fairest. So if you have really porcelain skin, this might not work very well for you because it does kind of have like a strong pink kind of gold pigment to it, but it is absolutely beautiful on my skin in the summertime. One of my favorite highlighters to reach for in the summer, has been for years and years. It's actually my second container of these and I'm already making a pretty good dent in it, which is saying something considering I only use this like half of the year and I have a ton of highlighters that I love. But for those of you on a budget looking for a great highlighter, you can't beat this highlighter, which is I think around $3 or $4. The next couple things I have are all a little bit newer. Let's start with this one. Now, this one was, I almost didn't mention, it's like a soft favorite for me. I don't know that I'm diehard in love with this, wild about it, but I've been using it a lot and there's a couple things I really love about it. It is the $1 billion brow pencil. I still have to laugh at that name. I mean, what a brilliant or crazy marketing strategy. Like, how are we gonna get people to buy our new product? I know, let's call it the $1 billion fill in the blank. Well, apparently it worked for me. As I mentioned in the video where I tried this out, I found this at my Marshall's for like $4.99. This retails for I think around $18 to $20 on their actual website. I wouldn't recommend spending that much on this. I don't think it's that good, but I've been really enjoying this mainly for the color of it. It's such a good color for me. I've kind of been liking my eyebrows a little bit darker lately, which this does give me a little bit slightly darker brow, but it's a really good shade, very cool toned. I think in the video where I tried this out, it said something about the word purple, which I think was a little misleading. This is by no means a purple toned brow pencil, and the more I've used it, the more I just think it's just a good solid cool toned brown. Let me give it one more swatch on the back of my hand. I really like the formula. It's pretty pigmented, it's pretty creamy. I have to be very light-handed with this or I will end up with really dark brows, which if you do have darker hair, maybe that would be a good thing for you. It would work well for you. But I love the formula because it's quick to apply, but it's a little bit stiffer than some of The other brow pencils, I think I compared this to the e.l.f. $2 pencil, which is a little bit more creamy than this one, but it's still plenty creamy and lays down a ton of pigment. It did take me a couple days or a couple trials to kind of get the hang of this thing, or kind of how best to use it. But now that I've got it down, I can do my brows super quick. I really love how they look. This paired with a really good brow gel, I've been just using my Brow Freeze or my e.l.f. Brow Lift, makes a fantastic quick brow. All right, I've got two blushes to share with you guys. The Flower Beauty Gel Crush in Peach Crush and the Persona Cream Blush in the shade Kiss. I want to start off by saying I tried out all three shades of the Persona blushes. I love them all, but this one is my new favorite. I've been using this for the last like five or 6 days, so not that long, but I love this one so much. I'll kind of explain why in just a sec, but let's go through the flower ones. I also love all three of the additional shades that I picked up from Flower Beauty more recently. I went with Peach Crush, Citrus Crush, and Blackberry Crush, I believe. I like them all. I recommend them all, but this one I think is my favorite. Let me give it a quick swatch on the back of my hand. It's just a really good kind of peachy pink. It's easy to wear. It looks good on your lips as well as your cheeks. You definitely can get a little bit of pop out of it because it does have that subtle bit of like kind of orangey or coral undertone that's really fun, especially for the summertime. It's absolutely beautiful. I love the formulas of these. I've been raving about them for I think over a year now, and I was not disappointed in any of the additional shades. They all have the same great formula. The colors are fun, but I like this one the best because it works the best on both my lips and my cheeks. And I kind of have similar things to say about this Persona in the shade Kiss. Now, when I tried this out on my lips in the video where I tried out these Persona Cream blushes, I didn't love how this looked on my lips, just kind of swiping it on. Let me first give it a quick swatch on the back of my hand. It's gonna look very crazy, very intimidating. It's a very like bright red. I'd say it has a touch of pink in it, but looking at my viewfinder, it almost looks more like an orangey red, but I think it is more pink. As you kind of start to sheer it out, you'll kind of see that magenta undertone to it. So here's how I like to use this. For me, because I am more fair-skinned, by the way, I am wearing this today on both my lips and my cheeks, which might surprise you considering that swatch right there. But basically what I like to do is I will just take, this is my favorite cream blush brush. Did I say that right? To the Alter Ego number 4 brush. Oh my gosh. So I'll just take this brush, I'll very lightly do like 3 little taps on the brush itself. Then I'll take it on the back of my hand and just give it like 2 little taps to kind of get a little bit of that excess off. And then I will take it right onto my cheek. I'm gonna go ahead and apply just a little bit more. Hopefully this won't look too crazy, but I'll just kind of lightly tap that on. I don't have to press very hard. And there we go. I have this really pretty hint of color, really easy to use, really quick. And what I love about this, especially for this side of my face, I have a sunspot right here. It's like a permanent sunspot, hyperpigmentation mark that's quite large. I have a really hard time covering it up. And so often with cream blushes, which I love to use, my liquid and cream blushes, but sometimes when I go to blend them on, they'll kind of uncover this little spot right here. So what's so great about this is it's such a pigmented product that I barely have to tap it on there, so it doesn't disturb the coverage underneath. Super quick, super easy, gives me such a pretty pop of color on the cheeks I absolutely love. And similarly with my lips. So what I actually like to do with this on my lips, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off the little bit that I had left on my lips, and then I'll just take a tiny bit of this. So I basically just give it like a couple little light taps just to deposit a little bit of color. And then I'll throw a bit of lip balm on top. I'm gonna take this one, the shade Bountiful Bear from Hard Candy, and just kind of rub that on top to help kind of spread some of that pigment out. And it gives me such a pretty natural looking lip color. I absolutely love this lip combination. I just can't use it in full swipes. So this thing's gonna last me forever because I need such a little product when I am using it, whether that be on my lips or my cheeks, but I really love how it looks. It's really easy to use once you kind of get the hang of it. As much as I love the other 2 shades of this that I tried out as well, this one has really stole my heart the last 5 days. I haven't used anything but this for the last several days. I'm absolutely loving it. I do have one more thing before we get to the eyeshadow palettes, and that is the Sydney Grace brush set. So I have both the eye and the face brush set that they sent to me this last month. You guys, these are so good. I am loving this entire set, but I do have, I'm gonna point out the ones that I particularly love. If you are looking for a good full set, I would recommend the full set. I think they're pretty affordable. I think each one's around $50 to $55 for each set. So it's gonna put you back about $100. But if you are starting from scratch, that's not that much to spend on an entire brush set, including face and eye brushes. But I do have some specific favorites within my favorites that I'm gonna share with you guys, and I'll kind of like go through the ones that I particularly like. Within the face set, I love the powder brush. I think this thing full price is $18. I can't remember. I think this is just called the large powder brush. It's the largest brush on the website. This is the only one that I didn't write the name of because I thought I would remember it. And here I am. But it's the large one that's kind of tapered at the top. I've been using this more recently for powder bronzers. I've used it for powder blushes. I love it for that. You can obviously use it for powder, for setting powder. It is a beautiful brush. It is incredibly, incredibly soft. Now, I do want to give a little disclaimer. I mentioned in the video where I tried these out that I would wash them and let you guys know how they washed up. I still haven't done that yet. So give me some time. I will let you guys know if I notice anything. It is so incredibly soft. One of the softest brushes that I even own. Like, I might even think it's softer than my Rephr brush, and that's saying something. I feel like that's a little blasphemous. You guys know how much I love those Rephr brushes. So definitely recommend this one if you need a good face brush that will do a lot. This is gonna do a lot. This could do a lot of different things. It could even apply your highlighter because it's tapered at the top. But I do also really love the highlighting brush, which is technically called the medium powder brush. That's right, this is called the large powder brush. This is the medium powder brush. You can see it's kind of similar in shape, but smaller. I love this for my highlighter. It is the perfect shape. It's a little bit flexible. It's nice and soft. It's not overly dense, nor is it overly sparse. It's a great little brush. Again, I think you could probably use this for a lot, but I like it best for a highlighter. Actually, that's all I've used it for is highlighter because it's the perfect highlighting brush. I do really like this angled face brush. I don't use it a ton, although I have been using this one for my setting powder for this powder right here because it fits really well inside the lid. It's really, really, I would say this one is a little bit more sparse, but in like a really good way. It's really, really nice. I generally don't use these type of brushes for my blush, but I love how this works for my powder, for my forehead. Gets the perfect amount on there because it's not so dense. It's not gonna pack a ton of powder onto my face, and I really love that. Great little brush. I would say these are my like number 1 and 2. This would be, if you're looking for a number 3, or if you use this type of brush for a blush, this would be a really nice one. As for the eye brushes, let's start with what I think is my very favorite. This one right here. This is the large blending. This is so, so good. Just a good classic blending brush. It's just the right stiffness. It's not too dense, but it's also not too sparse. Great, great little brush. Nice and round. Perfect brush for that first transition shade, or if you want just like an all over the lid kind of eyeshadow look. I also really like this one. This is the detail blending brush. It's just a smaller blending brush. I think having a combination of these two brushes in your like work set is fantastic for really any eye look that you would want to do. I love having something a little bit bigger, something significantly smaller. Great little combination right here. I like this one as well. This is the crease blending brush. It's kind of in between these two right here, but I think if you had to just pick two, I'd probably pick the biggest and the smallest one. Did I mention the name of this one? This is the crease blending brush. So again, I'm gonna stick with these two, and I would probably add this third one to my list of favorites. This is the large shader brush, which is not large. I think I've said this a couple times that I've used this on camera for you guys. It's a very small, kind of like C-shaped. It's very, very soft, but very short and pretty dense. Great little smudger brush for your lower lash line and for kind of working and shaping your outer corner. I love a brush like this. Have a couple other ones in my collection that I use and love. Kind of similar to my Rephr number 2 brush, which I love and use. Also somewhat similar to another favorite of mine. It's this detail brush from my Omnia set. You can see these are actually quite similar in size. Really good brush, especially if you like to do detail work for your lower lash line or your outer corner. This is fantastic. So I'm gonna skip over the palette that I tried out from Marshalls. Don't recommend that one at all, but I have these 5 right here. We're gonna go through them, starting with my least favorite. By the way, I do like all of these palettes. Let's just get that out of the way. All of them impress me. So at number 5, I'm gonna go with the Nubian Earth palette. This kind of surprises me. Might surprise you guys as well. I do like this palette a lot, but the other ones that we'll talk about, I think I liked a little bit more. Also, my only complaint about this palette is the matte browns are all very, very cool toned. Well, I don't think that's bad. I love a good warm brown in my outer corner, and these are all just a little bit on the either kind of greeny side or a little bit charcoaly. Like they're much more cool in tone. Again, not something I dislike. It's just not something I generally prefer. So that's the only like minor complaint I have with these. I do love the shimmers in here. They're really beautiful. Some are more sheer than others. This one right here is more of like a duochrome. It is quite glittery. Has a pretty strong green shift to it, but it's beautiful on the lids. I love this bronze right here. It's almost like a rose gold kind of bronze. This one's more of like a brassy kind of bronze. It's a little bit more on the sheer side. I've created some beautiful looks with this thing. I do really enjoy it. If you're curious to see my full thoughts on this or see me try this out, 2 different looks, I will link that video for you guys right here. But it's just not quite as good as the next few palettes that I tried, all of which are not just good, they're exceptional. including my number 4 palette. That's this one right here. This is the Summer Days palette from Sydney Grace. I have nothing bad to say about this palette at all. It is fantastic. The color story is great. I just haven't loved this one as much as I've loved the other thing that we're going to talk about here in a sec. It's beautiful. If you like kind of warm, almost pink toned browns, although I say pink toned, but they don't look that pink on the eyes. They look very pink in the pan, but on my eyes, they just look like a soft, warmer brown or bronze. They're really, really stunning. I mean, the formulas, I can't say enough good things about Sydney Grace formulas. I think I say that phrase every single time I talk about their eyeshadows because they're just that good. You really can't go wrong with any of their eyeshadow palettes. I've tried almost all of them now and they are all amazing, including this one right here, if this is your type of color story. Ranked at number 3, and this one pains me to rank this palette at number 3 because I think it is so, so good. And my guess is that when and if I do my halfway through the year ranking video, which I think I might do that video next month, are you guys still interested in seeing that, where I rank all the palettes I've tried out so far in the year 2022? Let me know down below. Do you guys want to see that video? But at number 3, I'm going to go with the Nabla Read My Mind palette. This is such a great palette, you guys. I, again, have almost nothing to criticize with this palette, other than I do wish there was just 1 or 2 more shimmers in here. But even saying that, I love the mattes that are included. They're all a really nice formula. They're just a traditional matte formula, which again, I love Nabla for some of her unique formulas, specifically her kind of creamy matte formula, which she does not include in here. These are all traditional mattes. But that said, they perform well. The color story is really fun and unique. I actually did a look with these two right here, I think in my room reveal. I'm pretty sure I had these 2 blues in my crease and on my lid, and I loved that look. If you are someone that doesn't like rosy or pink tones, you might not like this palette because this whole top section right here is quite pink and rosy in tone, but I love that, and I love that you also get some cool tones and some colors down here. It's a great little palette, really fun packaging, great little setup, great quality. Definitely a palette I would recommend if the color story is one that interests you. Ranked at number 2, gotta give it to the Tiny Marvels palette from Sydney Grace. This palette's been around for a very long time. This was created by the lovely Mel Thompson here on YouTube. My goodness, she did a good job with this palette, you guys. The color story is so fun, but it's not so bold that even someone that's into their neutrals would not love this. You get a ton of neutrals in here with just a couple pops of color. It is a really fun palette to play with. You have every essential in here that you would need, in addition to some really fun, unique shades and finishes. I am so impressed with this thing. Every look that I've done with it has been fantastic and also really kind of unique because there are some really unique shades in here. I love this green right here. And while I have a lot of shades that are similar to this, nothing is quite as light or kind of yellowy as this one right here. I have a lot of like greeny silvers. This one's like a greeny gold that's not too brassy. I can't explain it. It's just a really fun, unique shade that looks beautiful on the lids. If you like your metallics, and you all know that I love Sydney Grace metallics, you will absolutely love this palette. There are so many beautiful shades, so many great colors and neutrals in here. It's just such a fun palette to create looks with. But I have to give my number 1 spot to this palette right here. This actually shocks me. The Anastasia Beverly Hills Nouveau palette. I was this close to not picking this palette up just because I kind of feel like I've lost my interest in Anastasia Beverly Hills for their eyeshadow palettes. I don't quite know why that was. For a long time, they were my very favorites. And then they kind of like had some branding changes, and they had the larger palettes come out that were always just a little bit out of where I was comfortable spending, even though as I look back, they were only like $5 or $10 more than these size palettes. So I don't know why that intimidated me so much. Maybe it was more the size than the actual price. But for whatever reason, I just stopped looking to Anastasia Beverly Hills for eyeshadow palettes until this thing came out, and it kind of caught my interest, decided to go with it, and you guys, this is such a good palette. I am so impressed with this. The color story, it's pretty soft, it's pretty neutral, but it's just colorful and unique enough to where it's not boring. Every look that I've created with this, and I've now used just about every shade inside here. The only one I have not yet used is this green in the corner, which is a little bit more smoky. It's kind of like a bronzy green. Look at that shade, you guys. Oh, stunning. I don't know why I haven't used it yet because I've used everything else. Actually, no, I don't think I have used the purple. I think I had planned to use it one day and just haven't gotten around to it yet. But even with all the stiff competition this last month, this has been the one that I've been reaching for again and again, the one that I've been wanting to reach for because I think the looks that come out of it are just so incredibly beautiful. So I do have this one on my eyes today. That shimmer on my lids is this pink. It is so pretty. I don't even know that I'd call this a pink. It's like a rosy bronze with silver reflex in it. It's a really hard shade to describe because there are some like multi-dimensional or multicolored particles of shimmer in it. I don't know that I'd quite call it a duochrome. I'd say it's like a soft duochrome, which I just made up. That's the only way I can think to describe this. It's not super shifty to where if you don't like really like multi-dimensional kind of crazy eyeshadows that are like chameleons that change depending on what light you're in. It's not quite that, but it does have some really interesting dimension to it. It's also not overly light, so you can see I have it on my lids now. It's more of like a mid-tone shimmer, which normally I don't go for. I usually like something a little bit brighter, but because it has those kind of silver particles in it, it gives your eyes just a little bit of extra sparkle. It is gorgeous. I also have this kind of gold, which I'd also kind of call almost a duochrome. It's kind of like a peachy gold. Have this on my inner corner. I have these two blushy pinks in my crease, and this shade right here, which is kind of like Max Club. It's like a green that when you blend it or smudge it or apply it with a brush, it kind of turns this like purpley bronze color. That's what I have kind of up through the crease and kind of along my lash line. Simple look, but really beautiful. Such a great combination of shades and formulas in here. Every single one of these is just, it's spot on. I absolutely love this. I think they did a great job. By the way, the amount of product, I did mention this in the video where I tried this out. I think I went over this a couple of times, but you do get a lot more product in here than you did even in her old palette. So if you were worried about that price tag, because it is a little bit more expensive than I think her other palettes used to be, weren't those palettes $42, $49? This one I think is $55, but you do get more eyeshadow in here. So if that's something that kind of steered you away, I think that's a good thing to know. Great palette. So impressed with this. Much more impressed and excited about this palette than I thought that I would be. And that is going to do it for today, you guys. Those are all the things that I love during the month of June. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the little bonus ranking video. I doubt that I'll be doing that every month. Hopefully every month I'm not trying out 6 different brand new eyeshadow palettes. I feel like that's a little excessive for me, but I hope that you guys found this video interesting, helpful. I would love to hear what you guys have been loving during the month of June. Thank you guys again for stopping by today. Hope you are all doing well. Let me give you one last reminder. If you have not yet subscribed, please do that before you leave, but that's going to do it for today. Thanks again. I will see you all in my next video. Bye. You know the lady that gets her powers from Rapunzel's hair, and when the hair gets cut, she kind of just starts to like shrivel? That's what I feel like every time the sun starts to like go down. It makes me look like, I mean, the light just makes me look old and shadowy, and my wrinkles stand out and my sunspots. It's like I'm shriveling and dying. I have a hard time saying no to makeup at Marshall's. If I go into the makeup aisle at Marshall's, 9 times out of 10, I will come out with an eyeshadow palette, whether I really want it or not.